Beyond the Curve. I have some great videos for you today. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And let's jump right in. Let's go.
Tiny Tim, buckle up, because you are not ready to see the extent they will go to hide the fact that giants once roamed this level, flat realm you call Earth. This is the Southeast Asian country of Laos, and you will not believe not only what has been found here, but what has been done to this place in an effort to keep you from knowing what was actually here at one point. You see, these human-sized mugs have been found all over the plains of Laos, and it has been speculated for decades about what these things actually are and who made them. But if you're familiar with my channel at all, you know who made them. And in my opinion, they weren't just made for drinking, they were made for cooking, because there are still lids on some of these mugs. Lids that literally depict on top of them what was to be cooked inside of them. Some with human looking designs on them, and others with more reptilian or frog looking designs. But the fact that giants were here isn't even the biggest part of this story. That's yet to come. But you should know by now that the sons of God came into the daughters of men and created the giants, just like is referenced in the Bible multiple times. Again, here, when it talks about the sons of Anak, which were giants, and how we looked like grasshoppers in their sight. But the evidence doesn't just come in the form of their mugs or cooking utensils. No, it comes in the terrain as well. Because as usual, when you take a different perspective, you see exactly what's there, even down to an eye. And when you explore the terrain further, again, you see faces in the mountains. Literal petrified faces in the mountains. But again, the giants here aren't the biggest story. The biggest story is what they go through to hide this from you. Because do you know that Laos has been bombed more than any other country in the history of the world? This neutral country that is nowhere in the path on a flat earth or a globe map between Russia and the United States just happened to get the crap bombed out of them during the Cold War. That's how bad they don't want you to know the truth about this place you live. The truth that we're living in a created realm by a creator that giants once inhabited, which is talked about in the Bible. Because if you knew giants existed here, then it legitimizes the Bible. And then, you know what else it legitimizes? The creator of this place you call Earth. And of course, they wouldn't be they without putting the truth right in plain sight in the movie Gulliver's Travels, where there's a giant holding a giant sized mug that looks an awful lot like the Laos mugs. But maybe I'm just smoking the good stuff again, as the trolls like to say in the comments. But it sure does look an awful lot like a giant petrified face to me. But as always, this video is just for shits and gigs. I just like to entertain you guys, and it's all for entertainment purposes, of course. Oh, and if you want to show off your actual knowledge of giants, go check out my gear. Research Smithsonian Giants, fittestflatearther.com. They're a whole different story, though. Much smaller stature, but again, just for entertainment purposes.
Oh, wow. This is just beautiful. Look at this. There's the, when you, there's the big toe and the other four toes down to the small toe, down to the heel. What's fascinating about this is anybody that does a study of this will notice this piece sticking out here. It's like when you put your foot in mud and you pull it out, your toes will lift up a little mud where your toes were, and that's exactly what seems to have happened here. This rough granite is just it's pulled up this overhang here. It's spectacular. And I see that people have been visiting here because they've been leaving little coins here, which is wonderful. Maybe just come closer and show this more close up. Okay. Well, I don't know who else has filmed this, but I think we'll put this up for everybody to see, for everyone to really appreciate. This is a spectacular bit of human history. There were giants on Earth.
They don't want us truly connected, truly aware of our powers and capabilities. I definitely am not a subscriber of any organized religion, but I definitely believe in a God, a creator, in the divine. I believe a lot of these lies, a lot of what you see in the mainstream, is to get us to collectively deny that fact, to turn away from that divine creator, and with it, our true connection to this realm. They want us to think we don't matter, that we're just hurtling on a giant rock in a vast sea of nothingness, and everything happened by just some big coincidence. It all disconnects us from that divine cycle that everything else on this realm thrives in. You disconnect us from that cycle, lie to us about our history, and you have your mass of unquestioning, loyal worker drones that not only never questions the narrative, but goes after anyone that does. They don't want free thinkers working in their factories. That is, of course, my opinion anyways. It is far more than just history. That is nothing more than a set of lies agreed upon. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
It turns out that volcanoes are not what we thought they were. They aren't spewing lava from deep underground the Earth's crust. They are actually the dead carcasses of old dragons. And if you don't see it yet, maybe you will now. This is the face of a dragon that died. There are many other examples of volcanoes looking like the faces of dragons, just like this one right here. And that's because they are. Now let's take a look at Mayon Volcano. And what do we have here to the right? It is the head of a dragon. The entire mountain is the dead carcass that exploded, and all that remains that is visible is the head. Here's another one, Mount Vesuvius. We got the dragon on the left, and its mouth is spewing out all of the elements inside of its stomach, which I'll get to soon, and it created this mountain here. Now, I bet you didn't know that there are animals that actually use glycerin and potassium to make fiery explosions that shoot out of their body, usually their butt, such as the bombardier beetle, which has a reaction going on inside of the back of its body, and then it just like shits out a huge flame of fire. So is it really that hard to think that perhaps there was an animal a long time ago that could shoot flames out of its mouth with just glycerin and potassium? But there we are. Now you know that volcanoes are actually the dead bodies of dragons, and there are chemical reactions going on which create the flames going upward, and it's just basically going on in the animal's stomach. However long this thing died, it was probably like 1,000 years ago.
Look at the structure of this. This is actually the tube. This is the tube that comes down and squirts out of that injector. This right here, take your time, don't forget. He wouldn't be able to pinch anybody because there's no room here. The injector comes way out to here, and it's squirted around here. You see this? When it died, it squirted all this stuff out. But the injector stops right about here somewhere. Now, that should have been twisted back here to spring out, which is exactly where it would go. You see the wrinkles here? That's the pin. I follow it around. This whole thing. Let me see if I can figure a way to show you this. Just think of it like this. It rocks on that pin and backs right into this wrinkly spot, which probably has some kind of, whether it pulls here or whether it pushes there, I'm not sure. But it would be cocked in here, ready to go, and he would sweep somebody into that tail, which is a pretty good sized tail. Comes way out to here. He gets somebody right in there and just goes, swoop. and then the guy's dead. So what is that? What's that stuff made out of? Well, it's made out of some pretty nasty stuff. And it runs all the way from his back, all the way up here to where it comes out to the injector. Now, it erupted out here. And when I show you the series of earthquakes, this is the anus, this is the butt, the cloaca, all that stuff. Now, this something's crazy going on here because this is only like 50, 60 meters deep, and then it goes to thousands or something. Over here, same thing, right on the surface. This is really his body, goes all the way out here. Now, why it's so high up here, it's hard to say where his body actually goes. I don't know how big the damn thing was, but that's what I would say was his injector. And down here in his shoulder, where do you see what's coming out here? This is not just runoff. Look at these different colors. Look at all those nasty colors. And then when you get in real close, this is all dragon stuff. Look at these things. These are all like dragon scales. You see them? They're not hills and valleys. You know, you could say, "Oh, no, Roger, you're crazy." Well, you could say that, but I'm not crazy, and they are not just hills and valleys. And they're making all of these nasty colors, and it just keeps sweeping all the way up his back, all the way up. Oh, look at these things. Does that look natural to you? You know, I've shown you the stuff that Typhon has coming out of him. It's a similar situation. It's just nasty, nasty stuff. This is what
Petrified Dragon Mud Fossil
that
University.
right there is the eye. That's the carapace, which is the head. These are the teeth coming down. That is a gigantic dragon's head laying on a beach. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. Here's just another shot of it. See the teeth coming out? These are the ones on the bottom coming up. These are the ones coming down. Red is always pretty much blood, and these teeth run all the way out to the end of his snout, which they should. The carapace looks extremely accurately portrayed. The brow of the eye is quite prominent. I go real. Now, you probably recall I did a video on this the other day. Tyson tipped me off to this dragon, which is literally China. And I'm telling you, that is a dragon. Now, we looked at it carefully and looked at the dragon flails coming down here, and his, all the way down to Hanoi is where his beard goes. And this is the dragon's eye. Okay? And these are horns going up off the back. That's the eye over here. That's the eye over here. That's the crevice between the eyes. Now let's look at this eye and the nictitating membrane. And there it is right there. That is the nictitating membrane. This is the eye lid that runs around it. You see these, all that blocky looking eyelid, and that's that nictitating membrane. Not only that, it allows water to flow down in here and through its normal channels. And look what's living down in the water is cities of people. All right, they are living in the edge of the nictitating membrane. Okay. And this is down in the front of the eye. All right. And that is a gigantic dragon's face.
Did you know that every myth is based on some truth? And did you know that Africa could be the real Skull Island? All my days. So I stumbled across these old maps, and for some reason, they've shown Africa as a giant skull. The landmass fits perfectly. There's not just one map, there's a few, and they all show Africa in the same way. They always tell you the truth. You've just got to be able to understand their language. In this movie, they was hinting that giants exist. It's one thing to understand that giants exist, but what about titans? I've always wondered why they always seem to show Africa as the main landmass. They're rubbing it in our faces. The truth is always hidden in plain sight.
Could this be a real petrified Cyclops? Because in Indonesia, they did find a skull of a humanoid Cyclops of some kind. So, could this prove that the mythological stories of these giants might be true?
Malta, 1910. Archaeologist finds giant bones to what is known as the Cyclops, found deep in the underground. We were led to believe it was a myth. After publication, the story was completely removed. But we know that there have also been giant bones found across the world, and also giant skulls with elongated head. The locals speak of a race, giant beings not of this earth, who were responsible for the construction of these colossal structures. The word mythical has now been replaced with conspiracy.
The stories of giants have been an integral part of our entire human history since the beginning of time. Now, this is not something that the ancient astronaut theory came up with.
Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. Humpty Dumpty now astray, lost in realms of disarray, where time's undone and shadows play, and sanity frays in the light of day. The king's horses and the king's men ventured beyond their mortal ken. To bring Humpty back from the void's den, they ventured into the eldritch glen. In the maw of chaos they found their dread, where galaxies swirl and stars bled. They glimpsed what lay in the abyss's bed, and wished for sweet oblivion instead. Humpty Dumpty, once so small, became the nexus of it all. In the cosmic echo of his fall, we hear the universe's thrall. All the king's horses and all the king's men never returned home again. Humpty echoes in their screams, in a world beyond, where reality dreams.
If you want a real rabbit hole to go down, type in the search bar for Humpty Dumpty. It's crazy. Giant toes.
sabe iso ay un papel sabe vive un papel isa.
A giant in military uniform in Africa. So a giant was captured on video amongst an African military brigade. He seems to be leaning over from the waist fixing some sort of vehicle. Seriously, what the fuck? To all those saying giants don't exist, this one's for all your asses.
Fossilized giants are captured by drone images in several mountains around the world. Huge rocks the height of buildings and in difficult to access places. Researchers are not sure how they are made or whether they are actually fossilized beings. Which beings would have done this without technology? Would be just mountains shaped like giants? Or something not described in history books?
Just like the Bible talks about dragons, there's another book that talks about dragons, and I know that there's no correlation, but hear me out. Hear me out. What if the dragons never went extinct, never died? What if, just like on Game of Thrones, House of Dragons, whichever one, whatever, it's in the books. I'll put the audio here, but they say in Game of Thrones that the dragons cannot come over the ice wall. We have an ice wall. What if the dragons are just a hop, skip, and a step on the other side of the wall, and we're all just here like, oh, must not be real? Because these videos are sick. I would love to have me a dragon. Oh, me and my little sidekick, man, we'd kick ass and take names all day. Just have one of these little tiny dinosaurs, whatever, dinosaurs aren't real. Whoa! You look at these videos, look at this. How sick would it be to have one of these? If you guys have any information regarding dragons and where I can find one, or if you want to set up an expedition to go on the other side of the ice wall to find us a dragon, go ahead and comment down below. We're setting up a squad.
What is the dragon afraid of? The wall itself is not just the barrier of ice and stones. It is said that when it was built, children of the forest infused it with powerful ancient magic to prevent the dead and supernatural beings from ever crossing it. Dragons are also born out of magic, so it's very likely that Silverwing sensed that magical barrier and resented to cross it. But if not with dragons, then who will destroy the wall? It can't be Night King. Then who? Legend says that wall can be brought down by the Horn of Winter. Some believe Sam currently possesses this horn, discovered at the fist of the first man. But even he has it, he wouldn't do it. Another theory suggests that Euron Greyjoy will do the honors. Euron has a horn of his own, said to be capable of binding a dragon to its owner's will. So it's possible that he might steal a dragon and destroy the wall from south.
Watch till
If you
end.
needed further proof that we live on the remains of a much larger past, and that geology is nothing more than hardened biology, let's take a look at where a trendy and popular ingredient you might have in your cabinet came from. Himalayan salt. You tell me what these caves look like. Let's take a look at some of that salt taken out of these mines and collected into a pile. Now, do those not look like slabs of meat or what? Here's a closer picture of one. How about now? If pork ribs aren't your cut of choice, don't worry. There's many other cuts to choose from here. In the right conditions, after a great flood-like event, buried and covered in sediment, these petrified beings became the new mountains and hillsides of this realm. If you aren't convinced, let's do a few more side-by-sides. You got rock and meat. One of my favorites, you got bacon, and you got bacon rock. History is nothing more than a set of lies agreed upon, and the same goes for most all of academia. The truth is in the hillsides and in the mountains, hidden in plain sight. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
Dude, what's up with all these petrified giant elephants? Hold up. Look right here, dude. You see this little tusk right here? Hold on. Upon further inspection, yes, it may be a tiny little tusk, you know what I'm saying? But, I mean, it even looks like the skin, dude. Still not convinced. How about this right here then, Nancy? Those look like toenails of an elephant to me. This is absolutely incredible, man. You got this other one right here, man. Elephant rock in the Philippines. Now, I can understand people's argument. Well, it ain't dude, it's just a rock. Because yes, while it does favor an elephant, I'm not saying that it would. But this one right here, dude, look at the tusk, man, and the toenail. That's almost can't be a coincidence. But this is supposed to be a natural rock formation. Natural rock formation, right? Now look at the little toenails, man. Look at the little wrinkles on his little foot. You know what I'm saying? Just like a real elephant. It's always the questions, never the answers. Y'all have a good day.
Are we seeing evidence of giants everywhere and just continue to ignore it? Like this guy who just recently saw a giant peeking through and closing a stone door in some cliff rocks up in Oregon, and he's definitely not the first. Have a look at this. Petroglyph cave paintings all around the world, over 15,000 years old. Giants. Ancient Indian mythology had the Vedas beings, which were over 32 feet tall. In the Old Testament, we got the Nephilim, especially in the Book of Enoch. The Quran had the people of Ad, a nation of giants. Ancient Egyptians had their carvings and drawings of extremely large people in chairs and carrying megalithic stones. Mayans and Aztecs across the ocean in Central America had their own depictions of towering humans. And the Sumerians, well, they had the Anunnaki, winged beings 12 to 15 feet tall. And I promise that video is coming. That came down from the sky, bred with humans, and gave birth to giants. And this particular story formula here has been repeated in so many of these ancient civilizations' lore. And then we actually started finding them. Hundreds of skeletons of these supposed mythical giant creatures uncovered all over the world, most notably in North America. Found all over the US and even into Canada and Mexico, carbon dating analyses showed that these remains were much older than even the native indigenous people. And even these Native American tribes who had zero contact with the Egyptians and the Sumerians had their own legends of a time when enormous humans roamed the earth. Like the Choctaw tribe in present-day Mississippi had stories of the Nahulo, a race of giants that ate humans, another common characteristic among these stories. And there's the Native American myth from the Paiute tribe of red-haired giants called the Siteka that also ate humans, who, according to legend, were burned alive in Lovelock Cave, Nevada after a long battle. The cave was even excavated, and findings were published in 1929 that reported enormous handprints on the wall, Paleolithic artifacts, human bones with the marrow removed, which could be an indicator of cannibalism, a size 29 sandal, which would belong to someone at least 8 feet tall, massive clothing, and finally, mummified remains of a female skeleton 7 feet tall and a male 9 feet tall were also found, both with red hair. Checkaroo, that sounds like giants to me. What's crazy is that's literally only the tip, so let me show you the whole shaft. 1833, a sarcophagus unearthed in Lompoc Rancho, California, 12 feet long with an intact skeleton inside. 1870, an article in the Oil City Times reported an 18-foot skeleton discovered in West Hickory, Pennsylvania. 1872, a New York Times report of giant skeletons with 2 rows of teeth found near Serpent Mound, Ohio. 1913, skulls of giant human skeletons that would have been 10 feet tall found in Ozark Caves, Arkansas. Esteemed professors like this guy, Thomas Wilson, who worked for the Smithsonian, even stated, the authenticity of these finds were beyond any doubt. But of course, do some Google debunking yourself and it'll tell you every one of these reports was a hoax. Yeah, because there were over 1,000 accounts of these giant remains found all over North America and every single one of them was just a prank, right? I mean, they were actually finding skeletons in the ground and had tangible proof, so let's just take a look at the bones and we can lay this one to rest. The newspaper articles, journals, town histories and such that outline these finds cite a common recipient of these remains, the Smithsonian, the world-leading museum education and research institution created by the good old U.S. government.
Hide the truth, hide God. Giant mushroom. Giant turtle. Mama and the baby elephant. Mating snakes. Oof. Big snake. Really big snake.
These giant great beasts petrified in stone. I don't know what happened to this world, but it was strong enough to petrify these giant great beasts right where they were standing. It must have been a really evil time for this to happen. Or could have this just been an unfortunate accident that this happened to this giant world and we only see glimpses of its petrified past?
Gigantic crocodile. You see that?
The west coast of North America is a 7,200 kilometer long petrified dragon. And I've got the receipts. That's the head of the dragon, which is basically California. The open mouth is Silicon Valley. And as we go up the coast, we get the eye socket, the neck, to the wings of this petrified behemoth. Up through what is Alaska and the Aleutian Islands that make out the dragon's tail, which is a very, very telltale sign of a hook in its tail. And probably one of the most fascinating features of this video, when I was doing the research, I came across a woman who lived in the Yukon, in a place they call Stink Creek. The reason for this is, come to find out, it is the dragon's butthole. And when this dragon died, it expelled all the waste that was inside its bowels onto the land to make a fertile, very lush green valley. I can't make this shit up. Excuse the pun.
Well, that's all the videos I had for you today. I hope you know giants are real and were real. Sometimes they reached up to the heavens. Sometimes they were 9 feet tall, sometimes 13 feet tall. I think it changed over the years as their DNA changed from maybe 100% Nephilim to 90% down to maybe even 5%. Who knows? But thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button. Have a great day. Thank you.